Hi, Kurt Wannebo here. I actually a few months ago listed a property for $1. And I'm really excited to tell you what the story was behind that and what the outcome was. But before I get to that, we'll get to this. All right, so here's the background story of this. I meet with sellers all the time, and many times they want to list their property at a much higher price because they feel like every buyer is going to write an offer lower than their list price, and they haven't seen a lot of properties out there like their neighbors that have sold above list price, and so they want to be very conservative, which is fine. I work with clients like that all the time. But likewise, there's a lot of agents out there who have no track record or experience of selling a property over list price because they just haven't seen it, they haven't been taught how to do that, they don't have any experience in doing that. And I even know some very experienced agents who have been around for years, and they tell their clients, look, you can always go down in price, but you can't go back up. Well, I know that not to be true, and the reason is because I've sold hundreds of properties well above the list price, 10,000, 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100. My record is actually selling a property $225,000 over the list price. So I know that it can be done, all right? And sometimes I'll tell sellers, look, if I were to list your house for $1, I can promise you it wouldn't sell for $1. I'd have 1,000 offers, and in the end, I'd have a couple buyers left that willing to pay somewhere near the market value. But sometimes those sellers just think I'm crazy, right? And I never really wanted to truly do that for somebody until a few months ago. So I found myself in a position where I was going to sell one of my properties near the beach, and I thought this would be an excellent time to test out my theory and strategy of listing a home for $1 and just see what happens. Okay, just see what happens. I really wanted to try it out. So here's the premise. My property was easily peg marked as far as comparables are concerned at 1.3. And that was easy to determine because my neighbor, who was an exact same model match and identical, just sold 2 months prior for 1.3. So that was kind of the target price that I was shooting for. Now, what I did at that point is we did our normal marketing campaign and prepared the property, and I threw it on the market for $1. So what happened? Well, within about 10 minutes, I had my first offer, and it was for $100. So it was above the list price, a lot higher than the list price, but obviously was I willing to accept that at that time? Not yet, because our phones were ringing and going off the hook, just like I anticipated. So for the first day, it was insane. We were getting calls from agents across the country, buyers, everything. It was just insane. Then another offer came in at 1,000, and then one came in at 10,000, and then one came in at 1,000. And so after a couple of days, I had proved my point. Okay, so however, what I decided to do from there, because people will say, well, that's just an extreme example. What I did is I adjusted the list price. And this time I listed it I just changed the price up to $1 million, okay? Well below what it was worth, what I was willing to accept, but I still was pricing it lower. The end result of that is this. Instead of 1,000 calls within a few days, the calls subsided a bit, but they were still incredibly high, much higher than what we normally would get if we priced it much higher than the 1.3 price point. Showings were going bonkers and offers were coming in, and we kind of weeded out the riffraff at that point and really got down to some serious buyers who understood the area, who knew the area, who were looking for properties in that area. I think one of them even might have missed out on that other unit that was a match to mine that didn't sell. And the end result was this. I ended up with the final buyer's offer at price of 135, okay? In essence, $50,000 higher than what the recent sale was, and $350,000 higher than what our list price was at that time. Now, what was the end result? Full disclosure here, I did not end up selling the property. And the reason was because I, in the end, was offered a phenomenal offer for somebody to come in and rent it, much higher than I was expecting or anticipating. So I didn't sell the property, so full disclosure there. But it still proves my point that, listing a property for $1 doesn't mean it's going to sell low. Or even the fact that I listed it at $1,300,000, what it is truly worth, doesn't mean I'm not going to get offers and still find those buyers that are willing to pay market value, or sometimes in case if you have a feeding frenzy and a bidding war over the listing price. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and list your property for low prices. I'm just proving a point that, when people are sometimes very conservative and thinking they only can list high, there are other strategies that exist out there. Also, I would never encourage you to list your price, your property at a price lower than what you are willing to accept, especially if you are working with an agent who does not have a proven track record of selling properties for, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over list price. It is a very defined and specific skill set that not a lot of agents have. In my case, I can show you over 100 properties I've sold over list price and print it out simply from the MLS very simply. And what I mean by over list price, I don't mean $5,000 or $10,000. Those are just instances where, maybe they listed it and then a buyer on their own came in over the list price. I'm talking about true negotiating where it does get to the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 over list price. That's true negotiating. So again, I just wanted to share this story that we went through a few months ago in my team. It was quite interesting to see how people reacted to it. Thank you very much for watching.